Okay. Hi, good afternoon. Today we are talking about frequency for our vision, for our health, for our eyes. So this is an important topic because we are now using a lot of gadgets and devices, and we have to therefore learn how to protect our eyes. So this is Healy Advanced Training organized by Healy World. So this is for all of us to learn how to use Healy for our eye health. All right. So this session is recording and will be made available on our social media. So if you are asking questions later on, please be aware that whatever that you're asking will be recorded as well. Okay. So if you have questions, you can actually type your questions in the chat. All right. In the chat. Okay, so our Healy device here, what I'm sharing is my own experience. So therefore, as you listen, you have to use your own judgment to uh, evaluate your own situation and how to use it to your own benefit. So this is only for education purpose. All right, and please also be please be mindful also that the Healy and MagHealy device, they are wellness device. They are not medical devices. So therefore, it is meant to support us. Okay, and if you have any serious issue, you will still need to see the doctor to get proper medical advice, diagnosis, and treatment. So Healy and the frequencies that we are using here is meant to harmonize your bioenergetic field. All right. And therefore it it has a support function. Okay, so for those who are seeing me for the first time, I'm Christi Wong from Singapore. So I am a bioenergetic profiling coach for more than 8 years now, with some background in Meridian, all right, Meridian Health, okay? And originally, I am actually an A-level biology educator who turned into a wellness educator. Okay, so for those who are just starting to use the Healy, or those who wants to use the Healy in a more deeper sense, okay, to maximize the potential of Healy, I do have 5 books here that I've written and compiled together. Okay, so if you are keen, you can reach out to me. Okay, so now what are we going to cover today? The first part, we are going to talk about the biology of the eye. Okay. And then after that, what are some of the common issues that we face? And then the third part will be about how to use Healy and MagHealy programs to either do the repair, do the cleansing, and then do the protection. Okay. Yeah. So this is the cross section of the eye. All right. We are going to, the first part now, we are going to talk about the front part of the eye first. So we are going to talk about segment 1 here. So 1 over here is talking about the white layer, that is the protective layer. It is a very tough layer that actually protects the eye against any of the infection. And then the front portion, or what we call the sclera, is actually transparent so that the light can go in. And then after that is, when you go a little bit in, you have the pupil and the iris. Pupil is the hole. When you look into the mirror, you see a black hole there, right? So that black hole is where the light will pass through. And then the beautiful part, where we see a lot of pattern, when you see people say, oh, you have blue eyes, you have green eyes, brown eyes, that is actually the iris. Okay, the iris. So it actually helped to control the opening of the pupil. All right, then just behind that layer, you will see the lens, which is number 5 over here. This is the lens that actually focus the light. And then ciliary body refers to this portion here. You see a few white lines here. All right, so that is the ligament that actually change the shape of the eyes. All right, the lens, sorry. Okay, so for the front part of the eye, what are the issues that we will commonly face will be conjunctivitis, infection. So it can either be bacterial or viral infection. Okay, so therefore, which are the programs that you can use? So let's say if the sensitivity is due to pollen dust, you have allergy, all right, or sensitive program, deep cycle, meridian allergy. And then if it's an infection, you can use bacterial harmony. Okay, viral or bacterial infection, you can also use defense, all right? That's under bioenergetic harmony. Okay, so you can use this kind of programs to support your eyes. Okay, then, okay, now let's look at the lens. Okay, the lens.
Lens, a living piece of glass, clear, flexible, suspended behind the pupil by microscopic fibers. Its job is focus. Light enters the eye, passes through the cornea, then hits the lens, where it's bent, refined, and aimed toward the retina. To see far, the lens flattens. To see near, tiny muscles tighten, the lens thickens, and focus shifts forward. This happens instantly, thousands of times a day, without thought. But the lens never rests. It has no blood supply, no nerves. It survives on diffusion alone. Over time, proteins inside the lens clump and stiffen. Flexibility fades. Near vision drifts away. This is presbyopia, not disease, but physics. And when proteins scatter light instead of guiding it, clarity clouds. A cataract forms. The lens isn't failing suddenly. It's aging silently. The human lens doesn't see. It shapes light. A transparent structure constantly adjusting so the brain can understand the world. When it stiffens or clouds, the image doesn't disappear. It blurs. And the body reminds you that even clarity requires constant adaptation.
Okay, so that is actually our lens. Yeah, so our lens, for those who get, let's say, cataract and all that, so you can see from here that either it can get dirty, you can have proteins growing on it, sugars and all that. So to clean the lens, yeah, you can use this one, impurities, pure, clean all. Okay, yeah. Then to protect your lens is actually a soft tissue, connective tissue. And then for the muscle on top that controls the thickness of your lens, you can actually use muscle. So for those, let's say if your lens does not change very much, so it's the muscles, strengthening the muscles. All right. So when you use eye harmony, then it will be for your entire eye. Okay, so these are programs that you can use depending on how you want to protect your eyes. Okay, so now the lens, as we get older, because the muscle does not pull as much, okay, or does not be so responsive, and then the lens as well will also slowly becomes more and more opaque. So what happens is our eyesight, the focal point will start to shift because the lens cannot focus the light exactly on the spot where we are supposed to see at the screen. So the focal length may actually go beyond our eyes. So what we see is a blurry image. Yeah. So this is called presbyopia or blurred vision. So those programs that I mentioned just now, you can use it for all of this. Now, for those who cannot drive at night, because of the light and multiple images all stacked together. So if you cannot drive at night, you may want to use those programs as well, okay, to support your eyes. So that is astigmatism. Okay. Then for cataract at the early stages, okay, you can still make sure that you take care of them. But as it becomes more and more opaque, it is actually because of sugar reacting with the protein. So it becomes opaque. So when it's opaque, it's like a dirty window. Okay, you see the image below, right? So if you have people who have a cataract and you're wondering how they feel, so it's like a dirty window, very dusty, and then you cannot seem to clean or remove it. So you can use the pure clean oil and all that to try and clean that, okay? So to make the lens a bit clearer, okay? So this is cataract. Okay, so now we go to the back of the eyes. The back of the eyes is over here where you have the screen. Okay, so there are two layers that you can see over here, the yellow and the red. Let's talk about the red layer. That is what we call the screen, okay, where the image lands on. Okay, they form the image on the retina. Now, on the retina are a lot of pigments, light receptors that are sensitive to light. And then at one particular spot, immediately here, immediately opposite of the lens, okay, over here you have a very dense amount of light receptors. That's called the fovea. Okay, the yellow layer here is actually nerve cells. So the whole layer of nerves that actually collect the information and then send this information through the optic nerve over here to the brain. Okay, it goes to the, yeah. So this is the close-up of what you will see at the screen at the back. Okay, so this layer here, this is where you have the light receptors, and then the front here, this part here is where you have your nerve cell. So when you do your 5 by 5, so those of you, right, let's say if you have an eye issue, and then when you do your 5 by 5 analysis, you don't see eye appearing or anything, but you keep seeing nerve, soft tissue, that sort of thing. So it could be that the poor vision is because of your nerve cells, okay, leading to your brain, for example. Okay, or not? So that's why when you talk about the eyes, there are so many aspects of the eyes. Sometimes you may get circulation. Okay, so you see here that there must be blood supply as well. So over here, the blood supply will come in here and then supply the blood. So there is a lot of fine capillary, okay, at the back of the eyes. Okay, or not? Yeah. So you may actually get circulation, especially for those, let's say if you are diabetic, okay, and people who are diabetic, there can be narrowing, clotting, or bursting of the capillaries. So you may actually get circulation, okay? Yeah, so these are different aspects that can affect you. Okay, or not? So near to where the fovea is, just now I said directly behind the lens, this part here, you have the highest concentration of the green, red, blue cone cells. And then further away, you have the rod one, which is actually for night vision. So you have the central vision and then you have peripheral vision. Okay, so you need the rods, especially when there's the light intensity is low. So at least it helps you to make up where the object is so that you can see. Okay, so the colors cell photoreceptors, they are concentrated at a certain place, and that is important for color vision. Okay, now eye issues that's related to the back of the eye will be this macular degeneration. So in macular degeneration, they can't see the center part clearly. Okay, so they will see one blob of black. like this, right at the center. So it will affect the central vision and the image that they see. Okay, let's learn a little bit what is causing this to happen.
It affects the retina, the light-sensitive layer of the eye. In early AMD, yellowish deposits form under the retina. They can result in distortion and gradual blurring of vision. As the disease progresses, more and larger deposits develop, and blood vessels grow up from beneath the retina and leak blood. The leaked blood causes damage to the retina. In advanced AMD, peripheral vision may remain, but the ability to clearly see straight ahead is lost.
Okay, so certain blood clots, huh? Yeah. Okay. All right. Then, okay, so you can see the blood clots over here. Yeah, so then it create that big patch because it actually destroyed the screen. Okay or not? Yeah, so these are the programs that you can use because of the fatty deposits. You can use fatty degeneration. Yeah, so some people, you'll be wondering, okay, why is it that I get fatty degeneration, but I'm very, very thin and slim? Okay or not? So the fats can be deposited at the wrong places. For example, in the eye, like this. Huh? Okay, so then what else do you have? To repair, you can use programs like regeneration. Okay, yeah. So soft tissue, connective tissue, eye program, circulation. Circulation is for the blood vessels that is supplying the blood over there. Okay, not? Yeah. So if you have macular degeneration, you can use programs like this to support and protect your eyes. Okay, retinopathy. Retinopathy is aging of the entire retina. Okay, so it's because of the blood vessel as well. So for those who are diabetic, they have higher risk of retinopathy, which is actually the fatty deposits like you see over here. Okay, so once the fatty deposits are there, it actually hardened the retina. So therefore, it actually prevents the light from reaching the light receptors at the back. Okay, so gradually it leads to loss of eyesight. Now, sometimes also the nerve cell as well. And you know that people who are diabetic, when they have an injury or wound, it does not heal so properly, so quickly, right? So therefore, these blood vessels, nerves, and all that may actually becomes damaged and then not get the healing. So therefore, they can lose the eyesight as a result of that. Okay, not? Yeah. So for retinopathy, you will see that it is not one big patch like what you see in macular degeneration, but this one is like the patches are actually broken up in smaller patches, more distributed. Okay, this is because different areas of the blood vessels are actually bursting or having the fatty deposits. Okay, so sometimes the blood capillaries can also burst as a result of, let's say, high blood pressure. Okay, yeah, so we have to be mindful of that also. So if it's hypertension plus diabetes, yeah, so use circulation to strengthen your blood vessels. Okay, yeah, then regeneration, renewal, all this is actually for repair. All right, in case there is any damage, so that is to actually stimulate and support repair. Okay. Now, for the interpretation of the image will be this part of the brain called the occipital lobe. So where is it? Okay, you see where the location of your eye is, right? So if you move your finger sideways to the back, so immediately, directly behind your head, where at the level of your eye, that is actually the occipital lobe. Okay, so yeah, so you may have eye problem And then if you see a lot of, let's say, brain programs appearing, so they are actually working hand in hand. Okay, so it helps you to have a better 3D vision, okay, to allow you to estimate the distance and the depth. For example, if you want to grab something, you think that the distance is there, but when you grab it, okay, you either push it because your hand go too far, meaning that you are not estimating the distance, okay, of the object properly. Okay or not? So that is actually not an eyesight problem. That's actually the brain, how the brain actually interpret the distance. Okay, so then you should actually be working on the brain. All right, the colors, okay, your ability to recognize object, faces, or places, yeah, that you have seen before. Visual memory. Visual memory is, if you turn off the light, right, at night, let's say you wake up and then you want to just look for something, okay, you actually have a visual memory of where the things are located, where you place them. So you can actually put your hand there and then you just move a bit, grope a bit, and then you can find your things. Okay, so that is actually visual memory. Okay, to remember where you place what by just looking at something. Okay. All right, so this is the back of the brain. All right, so the optic nerve, the optic nerve is very important. The optic nerve will actually bring the message to both the left and right side of the brain. Okay, so you see one part here will bring it to the left side and the other one goes to the right side. So both left and right side of the brain at the visual cortex or the occipital lobe. Okay, so for this, you can use programs other than the eyes. It's like nerve programs, brain programs, okay? Because the nerve will be for your optic nerve. So the brain here will be for your occipital lobe. The head here is actually for everything, your brain and your eyes, everything. So easier you use the head program, okay? Yeah. Now, why do I put the sleep program here? The sleep program here is basically good for your brain. Yeah, so it do the cleansing, detoxing at night when you're sleeping, so you can use the sleep program. Okay, so the bottom three here is actually MagHealy programs. The top three is actually the Healy bioenergetic harmony programs. Okay, all right. Okay, so now the last part is actually the liquid, the gel, all right, the gel in the eye. Okay, now this gel here, you see here in number two here is the gel in front, okay, before the lens. So the lens here divides the space in front. Okay, so the space in front is actually filled with fluid, and then between this lens and the screen, retina at the back, is another fluid-filled space. Okay, yeah, so it's gel-like and it's important because it actually gives the entire eye the shape. So the shape is necessary to position the lens. Okay, so it's supposed to be a bit roundish, but when it is a bit elongated, so it is going to move the screen either further away or nearer to the lens, so that will actually affect your ability to focus as well. So the fluid here is also very important, but it can also create problems for us because it's fluid filled. And the fluid, right, when it has pressure, the pressure actually presses against the nerve, against the eyes, and it can cause glaucoma. So the danger about glaucoma is, one, it changes the shape of the eye. So when it presses, so it's going to, instead of having a rounded shape, your eye at the back there becomes elongated. So when it's elongated, it moves the screen away and then you can't see clearly. Okay, so now let's watch the glaucoma, how it takes place, and how it gives rise to the pressure.
A clear fluid flows through the anterior segment at the front of the eye, nourishing tissues. At the open angle where the cornea and iris meet, the fluid flows through a spongy meshwork and leaves the eye. But if it passes through too slowly, pressure inside the eye rises to a level that damages the optic nerve, resulting in vision loss.
Okay, yeah. So that pressure, besides pressing against the retina, it presses against the nerve and damage the nerve. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. So how does a person with glaucoma actually see the world? Okay, so this one here, they have the central vision, but they don't have the peripheral vision. You see or not? So the center here they can see, but the sides are all darkened. So it's as if they're looking through a telescope. And as it progresses, then what happens is the central vision becomes smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Okay, yeah. So what can you do here? So here we have to learn, we have to support the eyes. There is a drainage system. You saw, right? Between the lens and the front here, there is actually a drainage system where the excess fluid actually get drained. So if for whatever reason, the drainage system actually get clogged and the fluid is not moving out, then the pressure will start to build up. Okay, and that actually can cause blurry vision as well. Okay, so to do that, you can use like circulation, improve the
Để xử lý cái
circulation,
tình trạng
release here to
tình trạng
improve the
áp lực lên
release
trên
the
mắt này, chúng
pressure
ta có
in
thể
the
sử dụng các cái
eyes.
chương trình,
Okay,
ví
then
dụ
you
như
can
chương trình
use
thuần
more
khiết,
of
chương trình giải
the
phóng ở
detox
trong nhóm
one,
chu kỳ,
okay,
và
to
mình chạy các chương trình liên
support
quan
the
đến
drainage
thải
system.
độc, năng lượng,
Okay, so Pure
năng
is
lượng sinh
also
học.
a detox
Mình chạy các chương
program
trình
that
liên
you
quan đến
can
hài hòa
use
vùng mắt, chương
to
trình cân bằng,
support
tuần hoàn và
the
chương trình hài hòa hệ thần kinh.
detoxification. Okay, floaters. How many of you have floaters? Floaters is actually very common. Okay, floaters are, if you tend to, let's say, keep rubbing your eyes, you just feel that something there, and then you feel as if there's something sticking to your eye and it's causing you to have
Tình
a
trạng
bit
thứ
of
ba, tên tiếng Anh của nó
blurriness.
là floater, đó
Okay,
là
or
khi
you
mà đôi khi
feel
mình cảm
that
thấy cái mắt của mình nó có
as
bị
if an
bị
insect
cộm này, hoặc là
is
bị có những cái
flying
vấn đề gì
across
để
your
vướng ở trong
eyes,
mắt,
and
và
then
mọi
you
người hay
tend
phải
to
bỏ
do
kính,
this.
hoặc là mọi người hay phải
Okay,
dụi mắt,
yeah.
thì đó là
So
mình
those
bị có
are
một cái cộm, một
actually
cái màng ở ngay trước mắt mà mình
floaters.
cảm thấy nó
Okay,
không
those
thoải
are
mái cho
actually
mình.
floaters. Yeah. So what are they? Okay, let's listen to this. Yeah.
Place. Well, floaters are not outsiders, but made of things already present in your eyeballs, such as red blood cells, clumps of proteins, and bits of tissue swimming in the vitreous humor, the gel-like liquid that fills the eyeballs. So when you move your eyes, these particles drift along, thus creating an illusion of worms in your eyes. And the closer they get to the retina, the clearer you see them. But the vital question is, what causes these floaters? Well, there are multiple reasons behind their occurrence, and the most common one is aging. You see, the cells of our cornea recycle just like our skin cells do. So, as these cells come off the internal tissues of the cornea and proceed to drain out, sometimes they tend to float in the aqueous humor, the liquid substance that fills the space behind your cornea. And while swimming in this liquid pool, they obstruct the light normally entering the eye. This obstruction manifests itself as blurry gray objects, typically observed by adults over 50. Another factor responsible for floaters can be the changes in the jelly-like substance, vitreous humor, that begin to shrink and break down, creating clumps that cast a shadow on the retina.
Okay. Yeah. All right, so that's floaters. These are actually dead cells. Okay, so because here we have dead cells, so in the eye, that layer of the retina, they also regenerate, right? So the old cells get pushed out, so therefore they actually float around. Okay? Yeah, or it can be when the capillary actually bursts, the red blood cells leak out, and the blood leak out, so it becomes cloudy, and then you have cell debris like this. Okay, so they are just floating around until we can get rid of it, then it will disappear. So it's possible to clean it up. So clean your eyes with clean all impurities, pure. These are Healy programs. And then bioenergetic detox is the water, all right? The water activation, MagHealy program. Okay. Okay, so it looks like this worm-looking thing floating around. It may not be long and deep. Sometimes it's just small, and then unknowingly you will tend to rub your eyes. You think that something is there. Okay, or not? Yeah, so these are actually the floaters. So when the light actually passes through, when it hit against the object, so the light cannot pass through, so therefore the screen will be a black spot there. Okay, yeah. It's actually not that severe. Okay, not so flashes. I do not know whether flashes is common or not. So sometimes people think that there is a lightning when there is no lightning. So they see a sudden flash of light. That is because of retina tear. So aging, wear and tear, the retina screen layer will actually be weakened. So they might have small tears here and there, and you will see that as a flash of light. Okay, so sometimes you see it on objects, on certain objects, so it just create a certain glare. Okay, yeah. Now, besides using all the eye program that we talk about today, now you may not actually realize that the liver and the eyes are actually connected. Okay, so anything that is stressful for the liver will also be bad for the eyes as well. For example, alcohol stress the liver, long-term medication, late nights. Okay, yeah, so if you sleep very late, the next morning you'll find that your eyes is either dry eyes, blurry eyes, or tired eyes. Okay, so all this is because that it is actually connected to the liver. So the liver cannot do a proper detoxification. So you might actually see liver programs appearing in your 5x5 analysis. Okay, yeah, so it is also helpful to the eyes as well. Okay, so yeah, so you can just use the liver programs, either liver meridian or the bioenergetic harmony liver or nutrition. The third one here is digital nutrition that supports the liver so that the liver can do a proper detoxification. So anything that supports the liver will be helpful to the eyes. Okay, now comes to light. How are our eyes affected by harmful lights or bright lights? So the front of the eye is affected by UV radiation, which is actually bright light. Okay, so UV radiation cannot penetrate very deep, so therefore it affects the front of your eyes. Blue light is highly penetrating. They affect the back of your eyes, which is the retina, the screen, the nerve. Okay, no? Yeah, so blue light actually comes from our gadgets, our laptop, desktop, our handphones. So when you stare at it, okay, you have a lot of blue eye, and then they go all the way straight to the retina, and long-term staring at the phone can actually damage the retina. Okay, so there is a function in your phone where at night you can actually reduce the intensity of the light on your screen, where you can darken the background on your phone so that there will be less blue light. So you can adjust your phone function to reduce exposure to blue light. Okay, yeah. So let's see. Okay, so when you go to places like the beach, when you go ski at the mountain where you're exposed to extremely bright light, make sure that you wear eye protection. Okay, then avoid switching off the light and staring at very bright screen. That is extremely bad. So if you really have to do your work at night, make sure that there is some background lighting, because otherwise the contrast is so strong that is very damaging to the eyes. Okay, at night, you're also exposed to headlights that are very, very bright. So that can also be damaging as well. Okay, yeah. Now, you would have heard that when you eat carrots, the orange or the purple sweet potato, citrus, oranges, vegetables, okay, these are actually good for the eyes, right? Because of the vitamins, because of the carotenes, etc. Okay, so what are they good for? Okay, so let's watch a video. Today I happens to give you many
Of your
videos.
eye. And inside the retina, there are two types of light detecting cells called rods and cones. Rods help us to see in low light conditions and do not detect colors and come in only one type. In comparison, the cones come in three types that allow us to detect colors like red, green, and blue. So when you see a color, the cone sends a signal to your brain as you identify that specific color.
Okay, so we can, to improve color vision, we will use the digital nutrition. So there are 3 digital nutrition here, which is for eyesight, antioxidants, and the secondary plant substances. Okay, the first one is for eyesight. Okay, so this is where you will find vitamin A in this particular program. So vitamin A here is for us to absorb, detect light, especially in low light intensity. So at night, so improve your vision at night. So this is to prevent night blindness, dry eyes, corneal ulcer. Okay, so you can use this particular one. And then there is also another nutrient frequency as well, which is zinc. Okay, so zinc here is for your nerve cells. Okay, so it's to transmit the information from your light receptors to the brain. Yeah, so this is the one. And it also helps to produce melanin as well. Okay, so melanin is black pigments, dark pigments, which is actually behind the retina to absorb excess light. Okay, so if the light is too bright, too strong in intensity, so the melanin pigment is actually just right behind the retina to absorb all those excess light that is not absorbed by the photoreceptors. So they are important to prevent the retinal damage and also macular degeneration. So digital nutrition, eyesight. Then the other 2 are actually antioxidants. Okay, under antioxidants, you have flavonoids. What are flavonoids? Catechin is found in green tea. All right, then you have the quercetin, anthocyanins are actually purple pigments like those in grapes and beetroot. Glutathione is one of the master antioxidant in our body. Okay, so you get the antioxidants. Now, the 2 substances here is actually secondary plant substances, which is actually carotenoids like lutein and zeaxanthin. Okay, so lutein and zeaxanthin. Zeaxanthin is actually from corn, C-O-R-N, the yellow pigment. The bright yellow pigment is zeaxanthin. Okay, lutein is a bit orangey and reddish. That's actually lutein. Anthocyanins is purple in color, and then or purple blue, like blueberry, that kind is anthocyanins. Catechins is green. So that's why vegetables, colorful fruits and vegetables are good for your eyes. So they actually protect your retina, your macula. It actually enhances the function of your green, blue, and red photoreceptors. It also acts as the sunglasses for the eyes. So they actually help you to filter off the very bright blue light. So it reduces the inflammation of your eyes, protect your retina from oxidative stress, that means damage by free radicals. Okay, reduce the sensitivity, enhance your vision when you're driving at night. Okay, and strengthen your capillaries so that your capillaries will not burst, because the capillary is actually supplying nutrients to all the cells in the eyes. Yeah, so this is important. So they call this the eyeglasses, the sunglasses for your eyes. Okay, so do use them. Now for repair, as you age, all right, so cells get damaged and then needs repair and regeneration. So you can use the bioenergetic vitalization. So you have regeneration 1, 2, and 3. You can use that. Soft tissue over here, nerve, stability, cell is basically for all kinds of cells. Epigenetic is for the environment outside of the DNA, the cytoplasm. So it's actually to support your organelles. Okay, not so you can use any of these programs. You don't have to use them all in one day. Every week, just pick one and then just use it as maintenance. Now, the other one is actually in deep cycle H, renewal. So renewal is easy because it's one program, and it helps you to regenerate your eyes, cells in your eyes. Okay. Now, chakras can also be used because your eyes is located here in this segment. So the crown chakra, the third eye chakra, okay, and here I put solar plexus chakra because that is the location of your liver. So in your 5x5 analysis, sometimes you will get chakras, and then you have eye problem, and then chakra comes out. So Healy may detect that you will need more energy and stimulation of the chakras so that more energy is supplied to the tissues around that area. You see or not? Yeah, so that's why it's not just like, okay, eye problem, just use eye program. It's more complicated than that because you have to understand the function of the eyes in order to understand why why Healy Blue app would suggest you to use a certain program other than the eye program. Okay, all right. Now, lastly, sleep is important. So because at night when you sleep, the sleep is the time where the brain actually gets the detoxification. The liver is doing the detoxification. Yeah. So if you have a severe eye issue, one of the good habits and change of lifestyle would be to sleep early. All right, sleep within this period, not 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. to 7 a.m., not the entire duration, but during this period of time, this is the best time to get your sleep. Okay, all right, so for those who have MagHealy only and you want to use the MagHealy programs, you can use Cell Harmony, okay, because this is for all types of cells, regeneration and head and sleep. Okay, so these kind of programs. Then under McMakin, you can use nerves, soft tissue, okay, brain, which is for your occipital lobe, sleep for your liver, detox here is also for your liver. So you can actually strengthen the liver, strengthen the brain, strengthen the nerves, and then support all the soft tissue. Soft tissue is any tissue other than a bone and your teeth. These two are hard. Everything else can be considered soft tissue. Okay, yeah. Okay, so for delivery methods, you can use any of these. You can use the coil. If you use Healy with the coil, you can actually place it closer. Let's say if you place it, let's say if you're lying down on the bed, then you can place it next to your head, which is closer to the location of your eyes. So make sure that it's within 50 cm from where you want to support. Then you can use the high wave as well, or you can use the electrodes. But if you use the electrodes, make sure you do not have any metal, screws, titanium in the body. All right, yeah.